Hello, and welcome back to the Collectively Unhinged Therapy Talk, where therapists get real, a little messy, and definitely unhinged in hopefully the best way possible. My name is Courtney. I am co host of Collectively Unhinged and co founder of Strong Mind Mental Health, along with who do I have here with me?
I am also a therapist from time to time, and I am here even though I am sick for our
From
amazing
time to time.
listeners. Keep playing our podcast, guys. We appreciate you.
So today's a really interesting episode. Today we are talking all about red flags, therapist red flags, client red flags. Those moments where something maybe seems a little bit off in the therapy room. Sometimes the energy is off with us, possibly. And we're just here to talk all about it. Get real, get honest, all about our moments and what we've just seen as well. So hopefully you guys are interested in that and are on for the ride. Now, before we get started on the actual tea of all these things, I like to include this little segment from time to time called Unhinged Moment of the Week. So, Melissa, do you by any chance have an unhinged moment of the week that you would like to share?
Guys, I want to start with we have never had this segment, and
That's a
I was
lie.
not prepared. I did not know.
We did it at least once.
Unhinged moment of the week, man. My entire life is unhinged. Let's be real. I just moved to Orlando 3 weeks ago, have been trying to see 30 clients a week while taking care of 2 kids who are very, very tiny while adjusting to daycare, while being sick for 3 weeks because they're adjusting to daycare. Um, what is not unhinged? I'm trying to think of, like, a specific
Like
moment.
I asked for a
I
moment, not
know,
your whole
girl,
life
I know I was
story.
getting to it, Jesus Christ, can a girl just talk a little bit? Damn. Spend my day listening to other people, I wanna talk about my life too. Um, yeah, I can't think of honestly, I feel like I've been, like, too almost, like, too peaceful, like, like, when you've just accepted that everything is insane and you just go about your day and you're like, "Oh, the kitchen's on fire." Oh, that is an unhinged moment. My husband thought that he turned off the stove and he actually left it on high, and I looked over and there were flames, like,
Oh,
literal engulfing flames in our kitchen,
oh my gosh.
our brand new home, and so he walks over calmly, I'm like, I guess this is life," and he just put it outside and came back in, he's like, "Where's our fire blanket?" And I was like, "You didn't think to ask that before you grabbed, like, a pan that was, like" anyway, they were also brand new pans that I had just bought for a brand new house, and I just laughed, I went outside, I looked at the scorched pan, and I was like, "Okay, cool." I went back inside and kept playing with my kids in the toy mess that was my living room. So I guess that's an unhinged moment.
A little bit.
What about you, Courtney? Your turn.
I mean, nothing to the point that my house almost burnt down, I will say that.
What a time
A
to be
very
alive.
I know, right? No, a very small little unhinged moment was I went to bed at 5 a.m. because I could not sleep the night before for multiple reasons. So I didn't go to bed until 5 a.m. Then also proceeded to wake up multiple times during that time frame because of like the kids were waking up too. And then I ended up waking up at 8:58 and I had a 9 a.m. session. So I literally only had 2 minutes. I didn't hear my alarm, nothing, but I literally had 2 minutes before my first session of the day, like, rolled off of the bed, had put on my shirt, like, incorrectly. I think I either had it on inside out or backwards, I do not remember, and then just, like, ran to the office to start the session. And literally that is how I I started my day of, like I think I had, like, 9 sessions that day or something. So, like, that was my life for that day. It was hilarious.
I've also done this differently. I don't do it like right out of bed. I more so do it like I like to test the boundaries of, like, till what time I can run to if I get a reschedule or cancellation before the next client, and then I open up the session looking all sorts of crazy, super sweaty, and people are like, I can tell,
Are
right?
you
They're
okay?
looking at me, they're not asking if I'm okay, but they're like, "Dude, is she fine?" But so how did that session go for you? Because I can't imagine that you opened it up feeling, like, calm.
I mean, I was very, honest just in the sense I was like, "Oh, I'm a little tired." And that was it. I was like, "How are you doing today?" I mean, luckily, I very much, don't start my day with very heavy sort of sessions, so, like, it's usually something, like, that is, not as intense. So, like, went in knowing, like, this wasn't going to be, like, a very intense sessions. I usually leave those for, like, midday or something or towards the end. So it wasn't a bad session. Like, that person, is a talker anyway, so, like, we were able to get right in and it wasn't bad at all.
That's great. I'm glad that it wasn't it definitely is a little harder. I don't know if you agree when, like, people don't talk as much because then you're like, "How's your
Oh,
week?"
for
And they're like,
sure.
"Good." And you're like, "Okay, we have 59 minutes remaining."
Oh my god, no, I had this client yesterday that he is so good at wrapping everything up in terms of, like, what he's doing, all of his issues, all this stuff within, like, the first 10 minutes of the session, and, like, that's it, he's done. So it's like I'll literally, like, not talk for the first 10 minutes except for, like, "How are you doing?" And he will wrap everything up perfectly, and then that's it, and then I'm literally, like, struggling for the rest of the time of, like, trying to break up all of the things that he was talking about. I mean, luckily, it was actually pretty easy for that session, but usually, oh my gosh, it's like that I have a few people that are like that. It's like everything is wrapped up and done within, like, the first 10 or 15 minutes. Now, usually I will say for me, that's a sign, like, if that's happening consistently, then that's, like, a sign that maybe we need to be spreading out sessions a little bit more. But, for that one, it's like and I already have my sessions spread out with this guy too. Like, I think we meet probably, like, once a month. But even with that, like, he had everything perfectly wrapped up within 10 minutes.
But yeah, I mean, that happens.
Ridiculous.
You know what I like to do though when I know somebody's gonna give me like 10, 15 minutes worth of stuff, I always just like write it down. And then I'm like, okay, let's start from the beginning and give me more detail as to what's happening. So that tends to work, right? But yeah, some people are talkers, some people aren't. And I don't know. I can't say that I've had a moment in therapy where like absolutely someone hasn't like had anything to talk about and we've just like stared at each other. Thankfully, that hasn't happened to me yet. I can there's always something to talk about, right? Like life happens even if we don't feel like we remember things in the moment. But I don't know if you've had any sessions like that where you're like, "Well, I'm done. I got nothing else for you."
No, like, I've absolutely had sessions like that, and I'm very direct with that as well, like, if they I'm like, "Hey, so, like, I'm noticing that we're pretty much, like, at this place where, we don't have, like, as much that we're discussing," and then again, like I said, maybe then it's then going into a conversation about spreading the sessions out more, or maybe if it's, like, just, like, a one-off type of thing, and usually there's more, then we're just talking about that, like, how does that feel for you that you don't even have as much that you need to discuss this week in comparison to, like, the other weeks? Like, has that felt different for you? Like, are you noticing, that you are managing things better overall? Like, so it really does depend. I've always been able one way or another to find a way to bring it to that close, whether, again, it is talking about spreading it out or talking about just simply the fact that they're managing things better and, like, how this week was different in comparison to the other weeks and vice versa. So, I can usually make it work, always.
All right, here comes Courtney, best therapist in the world, coming at you. Okay, so talking a little bit about client red flags. I don't know that it's fair to call anything a red flag when it comes to clients because everybody's different, but some of those things that like definitely catch my attention for sure is, when I have a phone consultation and I'm like, "Hey, what are you seeking? Or what are you looking for in a therapist?" And somebody's like, "Well, I've tried out a bunch of different therapists and no one really meets my needs, or I try out a person like one session and they don't help." And I'm like, Well, yeah, I mean, the first session is for us to get to know what's going on, who's gonna help you. Maybe, like, maybe you have a therapist or, like, we can say something that's, like, helpful and, like, sits with them, of course, because 'cause we're listening and getting feedback, but, like, the first few sessions is really just to, like, get to know the client, for them to feel comfortable with us, to, like, get all the background we need because we're doing nothing if we're talking about, like, anger issues in your relationship and we don't know where it's coming from. So like, yeah, like girl, sit down. I gotta ask you about like what happened with mommy and poppy. Like, what are the issues? Like, where did that anger come from? Where's the resentment coming from? Like, what did you like ever learn how to like manage your emotions? Were you shut down as a kid? Like, so that takes time. As much as I wish I could get somebody's entire life in an hour, unless you've lived the most boring life ever, it's impossible, right? So to me, I'm like, well, were you giving these therapists a chance? So sometimes people do come
True,
into therapy like expecting that it's like a pill that they're gonna take and immediately feel better. And like maybe if you're somebody that likes to vent and get things out, you feel better sooner rather than later. But it takes time. It's about consistency. Like not every session is gonna be like, aha, I have made
true.
astronomical progress. Some sessions are just get some stuff out. Let's see where we go from there. Like, let's brainstorm. Let's work on it. Like, it takes time.
Right, and again, when we say red flags, right, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's more so that these are things that we really need to pay attention to and be aware of because it could be an indication of something more that we're not necessarily seeing on the surface as of yet. So, yeah, like, if somebody comes in telling me that they've been in therapy and they've already had like 5 or 6 therapists, like, that's something I'm definitely gonna wanna pay attention to, right? Like, I'm gonna wanna know, and I will spend quite a bit of time with that as well, trying to understand, okay, like, well, what happened? What it made you go to therapy for each one of those times? Or, like, what made you decide to stop seeing them? How long were you going to them before you stopped seeing them? Like, in trying to understand those better, also trying to understand what really worked well with those therapists that they wanna be able to continue on as well is also really important as, like, a side note. But another thing I think for me, in terms of red flags, aside from what Melissa said, I think like frequent cancellations or no shows or like just like, or do it at last minute constantly, things like that. Not only like are they then ending up having to pay like the cancellation fee, especially if it's within less than 24 hours, but like if it's happening so frequently or if like they're constantly doing it before the 24-hour mark, but it's, like, still something that is very frequent, I feel like for me, that's also a red flag as well. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there has to be a reason that they're canceling, right? So it could be that they just don't relate to you and don't feel comfortable with you, and that's okay. Like, let's talk about it, right? Why that coming up for you? But it could also just be that they find therapy difficult, that it's hard to talk about certain things, that maybe they don't feel ready to have all those emotions come up. But it's definitely something, I address it in sessions. Sometimes I'm like, hey, what's up? You've been canceled a lot. Like, do you want to keep having sessions? Like, what's going on with you? It's not, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of like ignoring certain things in therapy. I think that if you're in therapy, it's to gain insight, feel comfortable, talk about everything. So I am very much a therapist that'll be like, "What's up? You good? We good? What's going on? You need something else?" And we kind of go from there. So yeah, absolutely. It's just like things to to think about. Um, all right, Corning, what about when you're the red flag? What have you been the red flag in sessions?
I mean, there's been definitely times I feel like probably waking up 2 minutes before a session
If
is
red
a
flag,
red flag.
girl, I've told you to brush your teeth. I've told you.
No, I mean, there can be a lot. There can be a lot and not necessarily ones that seem so common, but, I think sometimes over identifying, with the client, like, "Oh, yeah, same. Yeah, like, I've totally been through the same thing," things like that, especially having that come up frequently in sessions, I feel like it is a very it's a red flag because you wanna be able to have, like, that empathy, but there's also kind of, like, that thin line where then you don't wanna become more so like really enmesh with that person and possibly even start like projecting like your own issues and things like that. I will say early on, because again, like I've always been told, like find a way to what's the word? Like, to relate to have the person feel comfortable with you, things like that. Although it was never about like sharing your own personal business, I've absolutely been like the type of like, "Oh yeah, I can completely relate to that," things like that. But again, it's not about me, right? It's about them. So there's other ways to do that now that are not necessarily about that and that also don't make the person, feel like it is more about you. So
Yeah, definitely. And there's always a way to do it, right? Like if I don't know, for me, like when I have a client that's like, I feel like it's me. I feel like I'm alone in this. Like it feels like everybody else is like fine and like no one else goes through this. For me, that's like an opportunity to be like, okay, well, would it help you to hear a little bit about like my experience in this area? I always ask. Some people are like, why do you always ask? Just tell me. I'm like, no, I'm always gonna I'm always gonna ask if you think it's gonna help you. Right. So obviously you have to keep it very short and brief. You can't like go off about yourself for like 10 minutes. That's not appropriate. But you say something very brief that helps your client feel that they're not alone, that like you've also gone through something similar and that like, those things have helped you and you're not just coming at it from experience as a therapist, but like just living as a person. But there's a very fine line, I think, which is probably why in school they tell you just don't do it. Because there's a very like thin line between what is appropriate
true.
and what isn't. So if you don't trust that you got the right judgment to navigate that line, maybe just don't disclose, especially if you tend to just get lost, which happens to us, right? Everybody has a some people just like talking. So if you start talking about yourself and you're like, "Oh my god, I just rambled for 10 minutes and my client is staring at me like I'm crazy." Maybe don't maybe don't do it. Yeah, you don't want somebody to feel like you're taking away from their session. If you are sharing to give them feedback, it's very different. But again, brief, short, to the point, and I think always ask, right? Because it is up to it's okay for somebody to be like, no, no, and you okay, okay.
But I also feel like that can be a red flag too, right? The therapist that overshares, overtalks, like does more, even if it's like about psychoeducation or things like that. Like if you're spending more of that time, and granted, we talked about this earlier about the client that is done with everything within 10 minutes and then you're trying to figure out how to spend the next 50 minutes of the session. Yes, that happens. But if you are, that therapist, and I've done it before for sure, that you're talking too much during the sessions and it is more about like the things that you're saying and less about what the client is saying, I feel like that can also be a red flag too.
Definitely, but I don't know, man. I have some clients that like pause and I'll be like, "What's your feedback?" Like, I got it for you. And some clients that don't even let me finish the feedback.
Oh, for
Yeah, like
sure, for
I get like
sure.
3 words out and they're already talking, and I'm like, I can't help you if I can't talk. Like, and that's like that's okay if like that's the purpose, right? Everybody has a different purpose for therapy. Some people
Right.
go into therapy and they're like, I just want to talk. But and
Yeah.
I hear this from people too who come from other therapists. They're like, well, my therapist like wouldn't let me talk. And I'm like, maybe, but also like I can't get 3 words out. So I think I like, yeah, like maybe your therapist was just trying to get a point across and it felt that way. So for you, what you need is just somebody to listen. Right? So you have to,
Yeah.
as a therapist, also like navigate that. And I'm sure there's some people out there in therapy that are like, yeah, actually, that sometimes I just want to go into a session and yell for 45 minutes. And like, I don't want my therapist feedback. I just want to get it out. That's okay.
No, for sure. And I think that it's also the therapist's job to be able to know this or to understand like how things are going. So as kind of like another red flag in a sense is like if your therapist is not, and again, I have done this before too, like, I'm not talking about anything I also haven't probably necessarily done myself, but, if we're not either updating treatment goals or checking in about, like, how the therapy process is going, like, "Hey, how did you," like, I'll usually say, like, "Hey, how did you feel about the first session together? Anything else coming up for you? How did you feel like it went?" But aside from that, I'll probably be, like, a month in, like, "Okay, How are you feeling about how things are working, how things are progressing? Usually I'll have like a certain time frame of doing that, but I've absolutely been in places where I have let that go before in the past and not necessarily done that check-in. So then you do yourself a disservice and you do your client a disservice because maybe they're not even seeing all the progress that they're making until it gets brought up. And you see where you were at the beginning in comparison to like how you're handling or confronting things now. And I'll have so many times I'll be like, oh yeah, like I didn't really see that until you pointed it out, right? Until we started talking about this. So I think like if we're not discussing updating treatment goals, how the process is going, that can be a red flag too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it goes both ways. Now, can we talk about some like weird, I don't want to say weird, don't worry, but some interesting things that clients have done
For
in
sure.
sessions? Because you know, I find you work with so many different people on a day to day, and like, you obviously like, as a therapist, you form a relationship with them too. Like, I couldn't help it. I got a little teary eyed the other day. I've been working with this person without getting any feedback, honestly, for like 5 years, and they've made so much progress. I was like, "When I'm gonna cry with you. I can't." No, I didn't cry, but I did. My eyes got watery. I was like, "I don't know," because you end up like, you form a relationship with people and you get excited when they grow.
For sure.
Yeah, but there's also, everybody's different. Sometimes things happen in sessions that are unhinged, right? And it's kind of fun. So do you have any experiences that you can share for me without breaking confidentiality?
About what?
Just any unhinged moments in therapy that, like, maybe aren't red flags, but maybe you're like, "Man, how do I keep this from happening again? I done did it this
Oh,
time,"
no,
or "They
yeah.
did it."
Uh, 1,000%. Like this one, this is also kind of like unhinged, but also like a red flag too. Sometimes people can cross, certain boundaries without realizing that how much like they're crossing boundaries. I had this so like a lot of times when we're talking about couples, when we're talking about romantic relationships, sex is always at some point part of the topic of discussion. Like because the sexual intimacies and things like that are very important too, or can be very important in relationships. So I was having a session with this man, and he's in a heterosexual relationship, and he's talking about just like some of his intimacy concerns with his wife. And he, like, not to go into so many details, but he got very detailed and very explicit without me asking him for those specific, details or information, but so detailed, so specific, almost to kind of like paint a picture in my head about certain things. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what the ever loving fuck is going on right now? Like, I do not need this image. I do not need this stuff in my head. And I was just like, what the fuck? So that was like a huge kind of like red flag, I think, for me, in a lot of ways, because there was definitely like there was a lot that was being described, and I was like, "Whoa, like, this is, like, too much." So, like, and I even tell him, like, "Hey, like, I definitely, like, thank you for trying to help me understand as best as you could." But I definitely think that for future reference, I'm not gonna need as much of that information, and again, very professional, very much, like, even tone and things like that. And then I was just, like, letting him know, like, "Hey, I really don't need that." And then, like, kinda moving then on very quickly to what we were specifically trying to talk about in terms of, like, his concerns with the intimacy and things like that. And he took it well, and if there was ever, like, to a point, like, in future sessions where I saw, like, he was maybe going a little bit more detailed, I would cut it off, like, again, to reiterate, like, "Hey, like, let's focus on this," and it was fine. But, like, that was, like, I was like, "What the fuck?" I still remember that because it's still unfortunately in my head.
I'm here for the sex positivity. I don't those aren't like, "Oh, what the fuck" moments for me for some maybe it's just because 'cause I'm, more sex positive, but if people feel that, like, the details matter. I haven't had somebody, like, go into details where it doesn't matter, so maybe I just haven't had that experience, but, like, in the situations I've had, like, the details somehow matter because I like, it, just ties into stuff, and they're like, "You're not gonna understand unless I, like, tell you, like, X, Y, and Z." So, uh I don't know, but I get it. If the details aren't important and somebody's going off on a tangent about like just something sexual that's going on, you're like, this has nothing to do with therapy. Like, thank you for sharing and being, feeling comfortable with me. But like, maybe let's, you know, uh,
I mean, again, not to go into so many details about it, but I think like there's a lot of background information there of like why it was important for me to have that boundary with him. Just because of, past discussions of his own blurred boundaries with professionals, in the past. So like it was important for me to have that established with him, but I also think he was purposely trying to get a reaction out of me with it too.
well, not all hero over capes, Courtney. Here you come, therapizing people. Okay, so I think the point of this podcast is to remind our listeners that we are also human and we make mistakes. We don't always say the right things. Um, and that's okay. We learn from it, right? But that's also important in any therapeutic relationship where, I tell people all the time, like if I ever say the wrong thing or like you feel that, I don't know, some type of way about a sentence that I mentioned, like tell me because maybe there's a reason there's like it's like a trigger word. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. Like I don't think I've had anybody actually tell me, people won't. They're like, "I'm taking this with me." But that's the point of open communication, right? Like, maybe there is a reason that you're feeling some type of way about what your therapist is saying, and maybe there's a reason that we as therapists feel some type of way about
Mm.
some of the things we hear, right? That's why we gotta work on our own personal biases and, have a very non-judgmental approach and just be like, "Yeah, this is, we take it as it comes, and we're here to listen and support no matter how unhinged we're all doing."
What about you, Melissa? Any red flags for you that kind of like stick out?
Honestly, no. No, but that just I feel like I very much take the approach of, like, I'm not surprised by, like, anything anymore, so maybe that's why
Mm.
nothing is sticking out. Because 'cause I'm sure that I've had moments in therapy where, like, somebody else
Mhm.
maybe would be sitting there and be like, "What is going on?" And I do have people point it out, right? Like, I have clients be like, "Oh, I bet I'm, like, your most, like, X, Y, and Z person." I'm like, "Actually, no. Like, this is fine. I'm not shocked by anything that you're saying." And that's actually the truth. I'm like, been there, done that, heard it. I think more
Mm.
of the unhinged moments were, at the shelter we both worked at. I think
That was every day was
there
unhinged.
I was shocked every day. Like, after that after that, I'm just like, "This is cool." Like, you go from, like, the craziest of the crazy, and nobody's really I don't wanna say use the word crazy, but you know what I mean, right? Like, just the most, like, you hear stuff and you just start laughing because 'cause you're like, "What do I do with that?" And now, like, in a private practice, you're like, "Yeah, that's fine. You did that, that's cool. Like, let's talk about the why." So, I think maybe I just come from, like, like, it was really crazy and now I'm not, like, shocked by anything type of mentality.
Okay, that's great. I mean, that's great. I'm sure you'll get a lot of people that are gonna gravitate towards you and and want you to be your therapist for that exact reason, you know?
Yeah, I'm here to talk about anything and everything, guys. There's 0 judgment, I promise. I am just like, "We're here, we're talking about it." It's a safe my sessions are a safe place for everybody.
Okay, so then maybe not with clients, but what about yourself? Like your own personal therapist red flags?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, more to that point, like, I feel like sometimes I don't know, like, there'll be a sentence where I, like, catch myself overthinking. I'm like, "Man, did I say the right thing, man? Like, did I offend this person by saying that?" But, it's just because 1, because I care, and 2, like, obviously, I don't want something to come off, like, the wrong way, and they're very, like, sensitive topics. Obviously, it's therapy, right? Like, people are sensitive to the things we're discussing, so I always try to be really mindful of the words I use, even if I feel comfortable with somebody, and I always try not to be reactive, right? Because I think that's also another therapist red flag. So, I'll catch myself sometimes, like, if it's a client I've been seeing for years and they're talking about something that's, like, really truly offensive that somebody did to them, I'll be like, "What?" Like, and I'll catch myself, like, reacting, and I'm like, "Oh, take a deep breath. This did not, this was your client." Like, but, like, I don't know if that's helpful
Mm.
or harmful. I guess it depends on the person because sometimes, like, a reactive
Mm.
therapist will get more of a reaction from the client, And sometimes a reactive therapist will be like, help them like normalize certain things. So I try to tailor, obviously.
It depends. It
Yeah,
depends.
yeah. I think no matter what, too much reaction is not good, but sometimes it's good
For
to
sure.
hear that your therapist is also like flabbergasted by what happened to you, So that's more of a me thing though, 'cause I am very expressive and I am very emotional. So when I care and I hear that something crazy is happening to a client, I want to like react with them, and I have to like take a step back and be like, girl, you're trying to help this person, not route them up. Like, I'm like, let's go get them. And I'm like, no, communication. Don't go get them. Therapeutic skills.
I think it definitely depends on the client for sure. Like there be some clients that I will be reactive with because they want that. They want to feel like you are involved and engaged in that way. And so like they can also feel supported. And so I'll give a reaction, be like, I know, right? And then and it's like so they enjoy that. But then there are others, maybe they're like overly anxious, overly critical of themselves or whatever it is. And if I give a reaction, they might then stop and be like, oh, what, like, what do you think of that? Right. Kind of like in that sense of, then it's then too much about then my reaction and then how they're responding to that or thinking about that in comparison to what we actually should be focusing on, and that's how maybe they reacted in the situation. So, I definitely think it depends, on the client, their personality, how they are, the issues that they're working with, and you get to know that the more time you spend with them, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very dependent, which I'd say that my approach to every client, everybody needs different things. Like I said, some people need to just be heard and talk more. Some people need more guidance, more feedback, more of a hands-on approach. So, all right, more to me, guys. I'll be reactive if you want me to be, and I'll take a step back if you want me to be, and there's no judgment. Reach out to Strong Mind Mental Health for therapy.
I can't stand you. So what's the moral of the story here, right? Like we all have red flags, right? Therapists, clients, we are all human, and ultimately the goal is not to avoid that.
Bro, I'm trying so
This is
hard
the
not to
second
talk. I'm
time. This is the second
trying.
time.
I'm trying.
You literally can just mute it and call it a
I did
day.
mute it.
You
I muted it.
you did this last
It's
time
muted.
too. Just
The
saying.
microphone doesn't work. It's muted.
Anyways, the goal isn't to avoid the red flags by any means because again, like we said, that they're not necessarily bad things. They're just like signs and things that are indications that maybe we need to pay a little bit more attention to because we can see them, we can name them, and then we can learn to grow through them in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's literally what Corny said.
Oh my God. So we hope that this gave you a little bit of a laugh, maybe some cringe moments. Call if you have like a call it in type of moment that you want to give us, like you want to let us know something that happened to you,
Mhm.
something that you can relate to, call it in. Let us know. You can find us anywhere on TikTok, Instagram, our website. It's strongmindmh all across the board, anywhere that you go looking for us. And if you liked the episode, don't forget to let us know too. Share it with your therapist friends or friends that are in therapy or looking for therapy so they also have, some things to be mindful of. And yeah, we will see you next time for some more collective unhingedness. Stay
Bye.
safe.
Don't put your kids
Bye.
in daycare and get sick for 3 weeks.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Bye.